Hello.
Hello.
Is it full of greenery?
It's full of greenery. As you can see, the green bowl, the green oasis, the white candle.
It's not changed. You're telling me for a whole week it's been sitting there in your study and you've not adorned it with evergreen?
No.
Anyone would think you've been busy.
You see, what you've got to understand is that it is such a small space. I would hate to set a fire alarm off in the rectory, because I wouldn't like the men to have to run 20 yards from across the road at the fire station with their extinguisher.
Okay. So you've lit the third candle?
I've lit the third candle. It's the big one at the front. That's the third candle.
Right, okay.
As opposed to the other two at the side.
So my prayer says, we light this candle for all God's messengers, preparing the way for change, signs pointing to a new age to come.
That's a joke in itself, isn't it?
God, as we wait for your promise, give light and give hope.
In the Church of England, that's a joke, isn't it? Change.
Well, God's messengers, they may not be in the Church of England as God's messengers. True.
It does remind me of the old joke. How many Anglicans does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know. How many Anglicans does it take?
No, it takes 100. 1 to change the bulb and 99 to say change. Well, we've had a very, very kind comment sent in this week, haven't we? From a viewer.
We have, from Pat Hat.
Pat.
We don't know who Pat Hat is.
No, we don't know who Pat Hat is, but she's a viewer, and we're
he. We don't know if it's she's male or female.
Yeah, we're very, very grateful because you put some very kind words, and it does encourage us. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you to all those who continue. We'll wave to Pat because she mentioned waving, didn't she? So, or he, the person.
Who knows?
The person of Pat. There's the candle, Pat, just for you. And I put it to the side.
So, as we mentioned last week, we've got more John the Baptist. Woo-hoo.
But there is a change in his attitude this week, I think we're going to find.
Yeah, and also it's from a different gospel. And I think there's a different focus. So, should we? Oh, we've got to have our pause, haven't we?
We've got our pause.
You're right.
I'm having a pause. Sorry.
So dropped off for a moment.
The first lady of the rectory came in to ask a question.
Oh, okay. Is that why you shut your eyes?
No, I was just taking a pause. Different. Normally I'd nod my head or put my hands. I'm sorry if I threw you with that moment.
You did. Worried. I was worried. Right, okay. John 1, 6-8, 19-28.
Oh, I better get that book out. It's called the Bible, I think. John 1, yeah.
6-8. Right, are we ready? There was a man sent from God whose name was John.
Yes.
He came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. This is the testimony given by John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" He confessed and did not deny it, but confessed, "I am not the Messiah." And they asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" He answered, "No." Then they said to him, "Who are you? Let us have an answer for those who sent us. What do you say about yourself?" He said, "I am the voice of one crying out in the wilderness, 'Make straight the way of the Lord,' as the prophet Isaiah said." Now they had been sent from the Pharisees. They asked him, "Why then are you baptizing, if you are neither the Messiah nor Elijah nor the prophet?" John answered them, "I baptize with water. Among you stands one whom you do not know, the one who is coming after me. I am not worthy to untie the thong of his sandal." This took place in Bethany across the Jordan, where John was baptizing.
Are you ready to burst into song? A bit of Thomas Tallis?
No. What would I sing?
The record of John,
Oh, yes.
and the Jews and priests and Levites. It goes on, doesn't it? It's beautiful.
That's not Tallis, is it?
It is a bit, I think, isn't it?
Oh, okay, I don't know. Anyway.
I may be wrong. Rarely, but maybe.
I know it's unusual. I do understand that, yes.
Yeah.
So it has a different feel, doesn't it? Because it's about, the things I take out of this passage is about light and darkness, and John being a witness to the light, but also that word witness and testify. So there's something really important about what he has come to tell us. And it does have the feel of an interrogation. I mean, I can imagine you could set this up as a sort of detective drama when the Jews, the priests and the Levites sent from the Pharisees from Jerusalem arrive to confront John about his activities. I can sort of conjure up the image of a bit of, screaming cars, screeching to a halt and people leaping out and having him up against a wall and, who are you? And what are you doing? And maybe it wasn't like that. There certainly weren't any cars, were there?
I think you've been watching too much Netflix myself, dear.
Oh, I like a good police drama. Oh,
I know you do. It's the uniform. I know this. I don't really, particularly if it's from up north. However, we don't know where were the Levites from? Well, Levites or somewhere. They must have been. Yeah, I mean, what does Isaiah have to add to this? Because that is key, really. We only tend to use one reading each week, which is the gospel passage, and sometimes the other readings inform what it is the gospel is getting to.
Well, the reading in Isaiah is Isaiah 61, so it's what Jesus quotes in Luke when he comes into the synagogue. Mm-hmm. So it may not link so much to John the Baptist, but it is a pretty impressive reading. I'll just read the beginning of it. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because the Lord has anointed me. He has sent me to bring good news to the oppressed, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and release to the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favour and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to provide for those who mourn in Zion, to give them a garland instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, the mantle of praise instead of a faint spirit. They will be called oaks of righteousness, the planting of the Lord to display his glory. They shall build up the ancient ruins. They shall raise up the former devastations. They shall repair the ruined cities, the devastations of many generations. So it's all about hope.
Exactly. And that's what the message of John the Baptist is about. I've come to bring a hope into a dark world, light into a dark world. Yeah. And it's following, whilst of course it's all part of that follow-on from last week's bits of John the Baptist. This week we don't need to know that he's dressed in camel's hair and he eats wild locusts. What he's saying is, I'm here. Yeah. And I'm doing what prophets of old have said, and I'm the new prophet, or the present prophet, and that is that I cry out in the wilderness, make straight because the Lord is coming and he's indeed here, and now we've got to get on with it.
And it's back to what we were talking about last week of John getting out of the way and saying my only purpose is to point to Jesus.
Yep.
That's the only point of my existence is to point people towards Jesus. And I think that's quite a radical way of living. And I think I run the risk of saying exactly what I said last week, but I think it's a really overdue call for the church generally. Mm-hmm. Is, do we have a kind of John the Baptist ministry in the church? Are we pointing people to Jesus? Or are we busy getting distracted by other things, which is very easy to do? I think, but the heart of all of this has got to be about the good news of Jesus Christ, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's unquestionable. None of us would argue with that. I think there is a deeply prophetic role, prophetic group of people still in our churches today who are trying to point the way that, we are here to still tell people about the good news of Jesus Christ. and what he stands for, and all the things that we did speak about last week, which the person Pat highlighted about, speaking up for injustice and unfairness and for the downtrodden, which is what Jesus refers to in that passage from Isaiah. But it's John the Baptist who's pointing us towards Jesus, who is doing that. And, it's not easy to stand up always and speak truth in front of leaders. I know that personally at times. It's not always easy to stand up and to speak truth into truth, really. And that's what John the Baptist is doing, and they're questioning him. Who are you? Are you Elijah? Well, no, I'm not. I'm John the Baptist, or John the Baptizer. He would probably have said, wouldn't he? I'm John, and I've come to proclaim good news. And you've been waiting for it for years, and I'm telling you, it's here. So why don't you listen?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's always difficult when you hold a role of leadership, when somebody comes along and challenges you about the way you lead or the way, what your values are. I haven't listened to them yet, but I heard them trailed on Radio 4, the Wreath lectures from Mark Carney, the ex-governor of the Bank of England. Yeah. The little trail I heard on the radio on Wednesday morning was talking about, he said it's about where our values are, and what roots us. And I thought I ought to listen because I have a bit of an issue. I don't really understand economy. We were talking about economics a couple of weeks ago, I think, and I don't understand it enough. And I thought, well, maybe I should listen to those lectures. It might help me understand a little bit. But it is, this is what we do in school all the time. We talk about the values that we build our lives on, and actually, as leaders, we should be challenged on our values, not just on how we lead and how we manage a meeting or how we chair or how efficient we are or how much growth we're causing, or none. But we ought to be challenged about our leadership, our values. What are we, what is at the heart of our kind of manifesto? And I think, that's got to be at the heart of what our churches are about. What actually are our values? And you're right, in some ways, it's stupid for me to say that Jesus has got to be at the heart of everything we do. But if that is true, if that we really believe that, then that's our value, isn't it? That is our value, that Jesus is at the heart of everything we do. And if we're doing loads of things that doesn't put Jesus at the centre of it, then perhaps we should stop doing them.
See, I think all you need to know about economy really is what is our marketable product?
Okay.
That's Jesus Christ.
Yes, I've long thought that we are marketers for God.
And how do we show people that Jesus Christ adds value to their lives? Because that's the very basic simplicity of economy. I seem to remember when I did my degree all those years ago. Yeah. What is it that adds value to allow something to still keep growing? As I said to you a few weeks ago, the economy is very dangerous. You can't stand still, because if economy stands still, you go into loss. So you've always got to be adding value to something to allow the country or the product or the group to grow. Mm-hmm. So our product is Jesus Christ and faith in him. Mm-hmm. And how do we help people to understand for their lives that he adds value to it that's worth taking on, which allows individually us to grow in our understanding of faith and what Jesus is about? And John the Baptist is saying to these others, well, I'm telling you. Yeah.
And that metaphor of light is really easy to see if you're going to talk in those terms about adding value. If you're in darkness, something that can really add value to your life is light.
It is.
Yeah, that's going to be really useful. And I know it's a metaphor. I understand that Jesus is not literally electricity. But in the same way that we know that access to light transforms lives. It's been seen time and time again through the centuries. When people suddenly had access to electricity, regular electricity, they could work later hours, they could produce more, they could learn better, they could do their homework, they could engage in hobbies, they could be together as a family. the existence of light in our homes transforms the social structure of our homes and the productivity of our homes. So to have the light of Christ in us transforms us, gives us confidence, gives us hope, gives us the reassurance that we're never alone, even though things are hard. And that's what John is saying. He's saying the light is here and it comes to transform the darkness. And that darkness can be so many things, can't it? It could be loneliness, or it could be unjust structures in society. It could be personal trauma. I mean, it could be anything. But having Jesus in the heart of all those things has the potential to transform it.
Yeah, so they're continuing that metaphor. Jesus is the electric that brings a spark to life. So we don't want too many sparks from electric because they could be dangerous. But then Jesus is dangerous, of course, isn't he?
Yes.
That's the problem to the Jews, the Levites, and everybody else. Jesus is dangerous because he's actually teaching people, not to stand up for all the things that they have been allowing in their lives,
Resist. Yeah, absolutely.
Resist it. Stop it.
Yeah.
And John the Baptist is saying, you think I'm somebody special. I'm not even worthy to untie his shoes.
Yeah, I know.
This man is so great. And it's what you've been waiting for. Open your eyes. Follow him. Add value to your life.
Well, and the priests and the Levites and the Pharisees know Jesus is annoying and dangerous already. This is only at the beginning of the story because he threatens their existence. He threatens who they are and the fabric of how they created religion for their own ends. And I'm going to misquote C.S. Lewis. I would love to have loved the Narnia stories, but I really struggled to read them and I didn't really get it. And I've come back to them as an adult and I still can't quite access it in the way I'd like to, but there we are. But then he talks about Aslan, doesn't he? He's not, I can't remember the quote, but it's about saying he's not fierce, but he is good. He is fierce, but so he can be scary, but he is good. And that is God, isn't it? That is Jesus. He can be scary and threatening, but he is good.
When you're on sabbatical, I have to borrow you my book, The Narnian, which explains all these things that you're talking about with C.S. Lewis.
No, I've read that. Well, it might not be that one, but I've read a sort of guide. I can't even really.
Oh, no. This isn't the guide. This is a book about him and.
Oh, okay.
And where his thinking came from. It's a great book.
Oh, I'd like to read that then, please.
Yeah,
that'd be good. Because I love C.S. Lewis's Christian writing. I love Mere Christianity. The Screwtape Letters, I think, is just a triumph. And The Grief Observed as well. But I've never quite got Narnia.
The Screwtape Letters is the adult version of Narnia, isn't it?
I love the Screwtape Letters. It's absolutely
good will always overcome evil. Light will always overcome darkness.
Yeah.
The lamb will lie down with the lion. That's where C.S. Lewis got his idea of the lion being fierce but safe and whatever. You're absolutely right. But there we are. We've got an economy. Our product is, and we shouldn't be afraid to talk about it or to promote it. And how do we? But the one difficulty I think we always have is how do we get people who are unsure to understand this and to talk about their faith for themselves? Because we're so reserved in this country, aren't we? You don't talk about faith. The one thing you always taught in a pub, never talk about religion and politics.
And sex.
Yeah, I've never talked about sex in the pub, but I've always talked about religion and politics. And in fact, I raised this very point yesterday at the meeting I was with at the school, where I was talking with the RS, the religious studies lead and the head teacher. We were assessing how the mock exams had gone and what they were doing to support children who needed extra support to get them through the course. And I was saying, because I asked a question and the head teacher said, "Oh, that's a difficult question. I'd never thought of that." He said, "Because you're coming from your job as a vicar." I said, "Well, that is my job, and my only point of being around the school as a governor at a church school is to ask the difficult question, where is God in all of this? I don't need to know about whether you've got enough money to pay a PE teacher or whether the grass can be cut 5 times instead of 6 next year to save money. That's your job. That's what you're paid to do. But what I will keep on doing is asking the difficult question, which is John the Baptist. Where is God in all this? How do you see God at work in all this? How do you accept that God is at work in all this?" because I'm not even fit to untie John the Baptist's sandal, never mind Jesus.
No. Well, and our ordinand Sarah was preaching on Sunday in St Mary's, and she was preaching from Mark's Gospel, which is the Gospel for last week. And she talked about how Mark's Gospel, which is the shortest of the 4 Gospels and perhaps the most simplest in terms that the author was quite direct. So you get less flowery kind of description and much more just straight to the point. Yeah. But how that is the perfect place to start, and how for a number of people that has been, you know, if you are thinking about saying, I really do want to find out more about Jesus, about who he is for myself, not just what Jo and David have been banging on about for the last year. Mark's Gospel is a really good place to start. You can find it online. All you have to do is Google Mark's Gospel and it will spit it out for you. You can read it on your screen.
Well, it's the most accessible, isn't it?
Yeah, start there.
It's the most accessible. And you start in a good way. And
with John the Baptist.
and you end in the right way. You know, go straight through. And that's good.
But perhaps, I mean, all that we've probably gone overboard with Advent resources this year, but perhaps the best thing that you could do this Advent is find yourself an hour. I don't think I've gone
overboard with this so far yet.
No, you haven't really. You haven't raised your game yet, but I've got every hope for next week.
You're okay.
Perhaps the best thing that you could do, or any of us could do, whether we're years into a journey of faith, whether we're just beginning, any of us, just to find some time this Advent to sit and read Mark's Gospel from beginning to end. Don't have to do it in one sitting, but just that would be perhaps the best thing that any of us could do, just to root ourselves in that story of Jesus.
And if you have difficulty reading it, you can get it online or to hear being read for you. It's all there. Yeah, but acknowledge our key product is Jesus Christ, and he adds value to your life. That's all we need to know.
Excellent. I'm going to go and listen to some Reith lectures.
Yeah, I know
about the economy.
Now you've told me it was Martin Carney. I should listen to myself. I always had a time for him in many ways, and he was a Christian, which adds to the value.
No, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Right. Well, we'll maybe talk about it next week.
Not that being a Christian makes him the greatest person in the world, but he's got a head start.
True. Yeah. Anyway, we won't go there. It's been lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the people who join us wherever you are, the ones we know about and the ones we don't. It's lovely. We do it. I don't know. We do this because actually we really enjoy doing Rev Chat, and it gives us a chance to explore the readings together. So thank you for sharing in that. And the fact that it's actually helpful and useful to other people is just a bonus. So thank you. It's really fabulous. Yeah, Christmas is coming. If you want to come to church at Christmas, you're probably going to have to book a seat. So please check on our website.
Reserve a seat. Reserve.
Sorry, reserve a seat. Does it? Okay.
I think it does.
Right. Reserve a seat. You need to have put your name down to come to church. So please, can you check on the website, beaminsterteamchurches.org, because we would hate to have to turn people away. We just really want people to come to church and feel safe today at Christmas. So do that. Check us out on social media. The Advent reflections carry on. The journeys of Mary and Joseph carry on. Messy Church bags are kicking out this weekend, and Messy Church is on Saturday at 4 p.m. on Facebook Live. There's loads going on. So just join in, and we love to see you and hear from you and be part of this journey together. So at Beaminster Team, beaminsterteamchurches.org, we'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.